This series will attempt to predict and provide a wish list for Frontier's upcoming game Planet Zoo. The conditions and probability of animals chosen will follow a guideline explained at the beginning of the first video. Be sure to watch the previous videos of this series to keep up to date with the entire wish list and predictions. In our last poll, the tropical rainforest has destroyed the competition and democratically chosen to lead today's discussion. Tropical rainforests are dense regions that occur near the equator where sunlight is most plentiful. With the largest concentrations of flora and fauna, they require immense moisture through rain or clouds, hence the terms rainforest and cloud forest. Tropical rainforests exhibit the greatest biodiversity on the planet and are home to an estimated 40% of Earth's entire animal species. They are by far the richest, most competitive, and diverse biome in the world. In South America, rainforests stretch from the Central America to northwestern Andean cloud forest to the largest rainforest in the world, the Amazon. In Africa, the West African coastal rainforest is dwarfed by the Congo Basin. Rainforests in Asia stretch from the Bengal to Indochina, through the Malay and Indonesian islands to the Daintree rainforest of Australia. This will be our longest video yet, so strap in, get comfortable, and let's get started. We covered the African leopard in the savanna video here, but leopards are also prevalent over tropical rainforests as well. One such species is the Javan leopard, critically endangered, numbering less than 250 individuals in the wild with a declining trend. As its name suggests, this leopard subspecies inhabits the island of Java in Indonesia, one of the highest human densities in the world. With an extremely small distribution that is increasingly under pressure due to habitat loss, Javan leopards are expected to go extinct within the next decade. Conservation efforts have also been slow, with only a handful of Javan leopards in captive breeding programs outside of Asia. The Javan leopard is one consideration for an Asian rainforest leopard. The other is the Indo-Chinese leopard, native to sporadic areas of mainland Southeast Asia. Estimates of its population are around 2,000 individuals, situated in the Malay Peninsula, the western Thai coast, pockets in northern Thailand, parts of the Myanmar Delta region, a pocket in Cambodia, and in the Chinling Mountains of central China. The Indo-Chinese leopard suffers the same threats as the Javan leopard, further tarnished with the Chinese medicine trade as leopard is increasingly replacing tiger. It seems inevitable the Indo-Chinese leopard will suffer the same fate as the extinct South China tiger. Both species of leopard are generally interchangeable for the Planet Zoo game, but unlikely in comparison to the African leopard. The black leopard, or more colloquially known as the black panther or simply just panther, is a melanistic variation of several rainforest-dwelling leopard subspecies. For the most part, black leopards are generally found in rainforest regions, as the dark coat of fur assists in stealth substantially more in a forested region rather than on the open savanna. They are not considered separate species, however, only variations of current leopards, so they are not considered in conservation efforts. The major recordings of black leopards are on the Malay Peninsula rainforest. These are Indo-Chinese leopards, whilst the Congo and Mount Kenya rainforest specimens are African leopards. However, other leopard subspecies may exhibit this melanistic trait. It is possible for the black leopard to be added as a separate animal due to its mysterious and mythical nature, but it's more likely to be added as a skin variation for the leopard instead. Frontier can implement a mechanic involving a chance percentage for newborn leopards to exhibit the melanistic gene. So far in our series, we've discussed the African white and black rhinoceros of the savannah. The Javan rhinoceros is a smaller rainforest-dwelling specimen at around only 3 meters in length, and sports the smallest horns of the rhinoceros family. The Javan rhinoceros is considered one of the most critically endangered animals in the world, with only a maximum of 68 individuals living in the tiny Ujung Kulon Peninsula of the island of Java. The resources of this small area are believed to have reached its maximum carrying capacity and can support no more individuals. More alarmingly, Javan rhinoceros has not been in captivity for over a century, mainly due to the fact they do not fare well and pass away long before their expected lifespans, possibly a result of inbreeding degeneration owing to so little individuals and therefore so little genetic diversity. The Javan rhinoceros population is now so sensitive, even a single tsunami or volcanic eruption could wipe out the entire species. In a different light, the Sumatran rhinoceros, the smallest rhinoceros species in the world, has also suffered similar fates in captivity, with inability to breed and short lifespans. Enhanced hormonal treatments in the early 2000s allowed the birth of 3 healthy individuals in the United States, before being returned to Indonesia to take part in further breeding programs. By 2016, the Sumatran rhinoceros is now believed to be regionally extinct in mainland Malaysia, with a small population surviving in Borneo. The Sumatran populations are stable, with now a surplus of captive bred animals ready to be reintroduced into the wild. Both rhino species would be likely candidates to complement the roster. Rainforest rhinoceros are highly coveted due to their extreme rarity and exoticness. The demand for representation in zoos would perhaps translate into demand for inclusion in the Planet Zoo game. Although tigers are confirmed, it is still unknown which tiger subspecies will be in the game. In our first video, we covered the Bengal tiger, the largest rainforest dwelling variant that roams in and around the Indian subcontinent. The Sumatran tiger is the last extant species of Sunda tigers, islandic tigers living on the Sunda Islands of Indonesia. Dispersed among several populations on the island of Sumatra, it is significantly more endangered than the Bengal tiger. Interestingly though, there are actually more wild Sumatran tigers than there are in mainland Southeast Asia. Sumatran tigers are one of the smallest tiger subspecies, possibly a result of island dwarfism. Their close relatives, the Javan and Bali tiger, have been extinct since the 60s, and there is immense demand for the conservation of this animal. Therefore, Sumatran tigers are one of the most common tiger appearances in zoos worldwide, with fairly successful breeding instances, a likely candidate for a second subspecies. Alternatively, we have the wide range of continental tigers, starting with the Malayan. Since a study in 2017, all mainland Asian tigers are considered one subspecies, so they are genetically all the same, but have slight differences in their appearance. The Malayan in this case appears slightly smaller than Bengal variants. Malayan tigers are virtually the same, however, as Indo-Chinese tigers, which inhabit more northern jungles in Indochina proper. Both these species are intensively persecuted for the medicine trade and the lucrative pelts for carpets and ornamentations. They are the least represented in conservation programs and zoos worldwide. As such, they are the unlikeliest of all tiger subspecies and should be the lowest priority. The final consideration for the tropical rainforest tigers is the legendary white Bengal tiger. A genetic pigment mutation resulting in albinism, white Bengal tigers are extremely rare occurrences, reported in the wild around the Bengal tiger's western Indian, Bengali and Burmese territories. In captivity, however, there are many white tigers on display due to outbreeding, and they serve as extremely popular displays, attracting public fascination. Like the black leopard, it can be introduced as a separate animal, but it's more plausible to have it as a separate skin for the Bengal tiger. In the first video of our series, the western lowland gorilla was cited as the most likely gorilla species to be introduced into the game. The eastern gorilla is the other species of gorilla, with 2 noted subspecies. The mountain gorilla inhabits highlands of the Albertine Rift cloud forest, and rarely ventures below 2,000 meters altitude, hence its name. Due to their habitat in colder environments, their fur is thicker, while still retaining the jet black coloring typical of these gorillas. They are also smaller than the eastern lowland gorilla. These gorillas inhabit the lowlands opposite the mountain gorilla's range, the eastern section of the Congo rainforest basin. Although their range is more distributed, they are by far the most critically endangered of all gorillas, with numbers far fewer than the western lowland gorilla. Its hunting for bushmeat, loss of habitat through logging, mining and agriculture are the critical factors affecting the gorilla, while civil unrest and turmoil in its range makes it difficult to enact conservation efforts. The eastern lowland is also an extremely rare species in captivity, with only 1 female in the Antwerp Zoo. Adding another gorilla subspecies, especially from the eastern gorilla variant, is a possibility and would make sense. These 2 species are interchangeable. Our next animal is the binturong, also known as the bear cat. Living exclusively in the trees of Southeast Asian forests, the binturong is a short and stout creature, with adaptable feeding habits, eating anything from fruits, insects, birds, even fish and other small mammals. This has caused the binturong to be described as a rainforest raccoon, and has allowed it to be successful across a rather large and competitive range. Unlike raccoons, they are not particularly nimble. They climb well in trees, but don't leap or display an agility comparable to other arboreal mammals. Unfortunately, their dependence on tall, thick, forested areas exposes them to habitat destruction. They are considered vulnerable by the IUCN. Common in zoos around the world, the binturong is a likely addition. The okapi is one of the most unique mammals on Earth, resembling a cross between a zebra and a giraffe. In fact, they are the only other species in the Giraffidae family besides giraffes. They inhabit the northeastern section of the vast Congolese rainforest region, where they are generally solitary and difficult to find. Okapis are under severe threat from habitat loss due to human settlement and mining, poaching for its meat, and encroachment of illegal armed groups that inhibit conservation efforts. The okapi's exoticness, however, has seen its presence in over 100 zoos worldwide, and it serves and is an exceptionally popular animal, and one of the frontrunners to be in the game upon release. The brown-throated sloth is the most common and recognizable of the three-toed sloths, inhabiting a large range stretching from the Central American to Amazonian rainforest. Sloths would be one of the core roster animals, and at least one example is required from this historically underrepresented group, a result of the animal's almost exclusive arboreal behavior. The brown-throated sloth as the archetypal species would serve as the most likely species. Capybara are the largest rodents in the world, occupying a multitude of habitats including the savanna and grasslands, but most commonly found in the Amazon rainforest. As they are capable swimmers and consistently take to the water to escape predators, capybara tend to congregate in large numbers near waterways. With their large size providing a lot of meat content, they are a primary food source for predators such as the jaguar, and even hunted by humans as bushmeat. Although they are so abundant, this has little effect on their numbers. Quite recently, capybara fat has also been studied for cancer-fighting properties. Docile in captivity, with many capybara allowing human physical interaction, they are extensive in captivity and even as pets. Capybara would pose as a very likely species to craze the game. There are many New World rainforest primates to choose from, and ultimately many of them have a shout to be in the game. These include tarsiers, tamarins, marmosets, capuchins, woolly monkeys, and spider monkeys. For this video, in the interest of time, we will only cover the howler monkeys. Howler monkeys are among the largest of the New World monkeys, inhabiting the vast rainforest region in Central and South America. Their most distinct trait is their booming calls and roars, hence howling, that can be heard reverberating through the rainforest canopy. The brown howler consists of the critically endangered northern brown howler in eastern Brazil, whilst the majority of the population is made up of the southern brown howler in southern Brazil and Argentina at low concern status. Brown howlers feature a rich dark red-orange to brown fur colouring. There are a few instances of brown howlers in captivity, but very little success in breeding. One of the largest, the Central American mantled howler, is primarily black, sporting a mantle made up of guard hairs around its neck, somewhat giving the illusion of an enlarged head. Mantled howlers subsist primarily on a diet of leaves, much less energy efficient than their fruit-eating cousins in the south, hence they spend most of their day actively feeding. Finally, the black howler monkey, with males adorning the namesake colouring whilst females and juveniles don a bright golden coat. As such, this species is also known as the black and gold howler. Black howlers inhabit the interior of the South American continent, primarily in subtropical forest south of the Amazon basin. All the howler monkeys are interchangeable, and I expect one of these to have a possibility. Similar to the New World primates, the Old World also has a diverse selection of primates, including mangabes, colobus, and langurs. Bonobos are great apes and very similar to chimpanzees, with the Congo River separating this species in the south from the northern chimpanzee tribes. Along with chimpanzees, bonobos are our closest extant relative, famous for their societies centered around peaceful conflict resolution and pacifism. Bonobos are situated in the Congo rainforest in a region known as the Cuvette Centrale between the Congo and Kasai rivers, which has historically experienced much turmoil due to civil war, the existence of indigenous tribes, and habitat destruction due to the encroachment of human settlements. As a result, bonobos are endangered, but bonobos have benefited from a rigorous, well-funded conservation program since the turn of the century, with a strong breeding population in captivity. Bonobos would ultimately be competing against the chimpanzee on the roster, and with confirmation of the former, it's a possibility for diversity's sake, but otherwise does not hold a very high chance. Resembling forest baboons, mandrills are remarkable for their multicolored faces. Their reddish noses are surrounded by bands of light blue ridges. Their muzzle are thus one of the most unique among primates and render them easily distinguishable. They are interestingly not natural pigmentation but the effect of light refraction on facial collagen fibers. Mandrills roam the Congo rainforest in hordes of 600 strong, often allowing them to overpower predators such as leopards. Omnivorous and definitely not fussy eaters, mandrills consume all parts of vegetation including fruits, roots, even bark. Mushrooms and soil complement their mineral requirements, whilst any small animal provides valuable protein. Deforestation of the Congo is the major threat to mandrills, but they are also routinely hunted for bushmeat. However, mandrills benefit from effective breeding programs with captive populations successfully integrated back into the wild. The mandrill's reputation as one of the most colourful of the large primates suggests a likely probability for its introduction into Planet Zoo. We move on to the family of gibbons. The black-crested gibbon is critically endangered, residing in dispersed patchy areas in Indochina. As the name suggests, the male is primarily black with golden white crests on their cheeks that are distinct with this species, whereas females are tan bronze to orange colouring with black head caps. The northern white-cheeked gibbon is similar looking in appearance, with their cheek tufts notably more white, whilst female and juveniles have a lighter shade to their fur. Once again, another critically endangered gibbon species inhabiting the Indochina region where massive rainforest removal threatens the survival of these monkeys. Both these gibbon species are interchangeable and both rated at a possible chance of inclusion. The last consideration in the gibbon family is the siamang. Native to the forest of the Malaysian mainland and Indonesian island of Sumatra, siamangs are coloured all black and do not feature the contrasting cheeks reminiscent of other gibbons. Siamangs, however, feature an inflatable throat pouch, allow it to resonate its booming calls throughout the forest. Siamangs are well suited to captivity and are regularly popular exhibits in zoos. As such, the siamang has a more likely chance compared to the other gibbons, and in general one of the favourites for the old world monkeys. Next, we have the orangutans, which are separated into 3 species and respective localities. The Bornean orangutan is the largest orangutan species, the 3rd largest species of wild primate, behind the 2 species of gorilla. Inhabiting the island of Borneo, this species is the most common, more than tripling the number of Sumatran orangutans. Nevertheless, it is critically endangered, suffering most from deforestation and hunting for its meat. Sumatran orangutans inhabit a small northern section of the island, and are thinner, generally smaller, but have longer faces and hair compared to their Bornean cousins. They seem to feed more on fruits and insects compared to the more leaf-based diet of the Bornean. However, they are drastically reduced in numbers in comparison, with wild estimates at 7,000 and quickly decreasing. Besides the usual threats, Sumatra is also prevalent with palm oil plantations, which remove the forest habitat the Sumatran orangutan requires, as they are completely dependent on trees due to an arboreal lifestyle. This new species was described as a separate species from the Sumatran in a new study in 2017. The Tapanuli orangutan is by far the most critically endangered and isolated of the 3 orangutan species, surviving in an isolated area of 1,000 kilometers squared with only about 800 individuals, making it the world's rarest great ape. Tapanuli orangutans are the smallest of the group, and for the most part resemble the slightly larger Sumatran orangutans. The orangutans, due to their wild public familiarity, uniqueness, conservation awareness, and their prolific appearances in zoos worldwide, make them expected animals, with all 3 species interchangeable. Our last analysis of the old world monkeys consists of the lemurs. Lemurs are agile, arboreal primates native only to the island of Madagascar. Ring-tailed lemurs are essentially confirmed as the archetypal lemur example. Red-ruffed lemurs are a distinct but critically endangered species inhabiting the Massawa rainforest of the northeastern Madagascar. With a black face, reddish-brown fur and cheek tufts, and a long black tail, red-ruffed lemurs are among the most distinct lemur varieties. Unfortunately, their distribution encompasses an area of prized hardwoods that contribute to illegal logging. Natural disasters and a large amount of natural predators also pressure the lemur species immensely. As with most lemur species, they are increasingly acquired for zoos in the west as a result of growing lemur popularity, and their ability to adapt and thrive well in captivity enhances this. Red ruffed lemurs are unlikely though, considering the similar sized ring-tailed lemur is already confirmed. Injuries are however the largest members of the lemur family, coloured black and white with more explicitly defined ears. Inhabiting the eastern rainforest of Madagascar, injuries are critically endangered, suffering from the same habitat destruction efforts occurring to all known lemur populations on the island. What's more concerning is that injuries in captivity are recently unsuccessful, and many breeding programs fruitless. Much work is to be done to save this species. As the largest of the lemurs, it has a heightened chance of appearing at possible. Our last candidate is a lemur from the Sifaka clan. The Cockerel Sifaka is a vibrantly distinct medium-sized lemur with white and maroon patches inhabiting the northwestern section of the island. Sifakas are economically important as they contribute to the lemur tourism of Madagascar due to their uniqueness, however along with the rest of the family are endangered. The Cockerel Sifaka, although interesting, it's rather unlikely. The anoa resembles a midget buffalo endemic to the island of Sulawesi. Two species, the lowland and mountain anoa, inhabit the respective lowland and mountainous forest of the island, although there is quite some overlap between their ranges, with a large amount of interspecies interaction. Anoas are not very large, standing at only 90 cm and 70 cm tall respectively for both species, but feature a stocky build reminiscent of water buffalo with quite developed backwards pointing horns. Due to their restricted island range experiencing high population growth, anoas suffer from hunting for its meat and habitat degradation, with little cooperative conservation efforts with a result of the isolation, infrastructure and poor human population on the island. Both anoa species are endangered, however their population decline is catapulting, with the species expected to be extinct very soon. Little public awareness coupled with only small instances of anoas exhibited in captivity means an unlikely chance of addition. Asian elephants are among the most iconic animals in the wild and captivity. A more bulbous head, smaller tusk, lesser ears and a smaller overall body size compared to the African elephant, Asian elephants are adapted to the foliage density and waterway frequency involved with rainforest. Historically, the Asian elephant ranged from Syria and Mesopotamia through to eastern China and as far south as the island of Java. Millennia of domestication as a beast of burden, as a ceremonial and war animal, hunting for its tusk and meat, and habitat loss has now rendered the Asian elephant endangered, isolated into key distributions in southern India, Sri Lanka, the sub-Himalayan mountain forest, parts of the Bengali Delta, Indochina, the Malay Peninsula and the islands of Sumatra and Borneo. Although Asian elephants are extremely prevalent in zoos worldwide, their performance in captivity has been historically dire, with Asian elephants living far longer and breeding more successfully in protected reserves and semi-natural parks rather than captive exhibits. Furthermore, the extent of illegal tourism from captured animals results in further cruelty and deaths. Asian elephants would represent a core species that is difficult to justify not being in the game, playing an immense cultural role in the southern Asian regions and recently a flagship role in conservation of rainforest in general. The African forest elephant has historically been thought of as a subspecies of the African bush elephant. However, by 2010, the forest elephant is recognized as an entirely different species, with genetic analysis indicating it was more closely related to extinct European elephants than it was to the African bush elephant. Rarely exceeding even half the size of the bush elephant, forest elephants are for all intents and purposes dwarf elephants, and like Asian elephants, their smaller profile allows them to traverse the thicker Congo rainforest. Forest elephants contribute greatly to the ecological system, dispersing more seeds than any other African rainforest vertebrate. Whereas both African elephant varieties suffer from poaching for their tusks, the Congo's continuous rainforest destruction has compounded the forest elephant's plight. The region's instability and rugged terrain makes it difficult to study the animal, as well as hampering efforts to capture it for zoos. It is by far the rarest zoo elephant, with very little exhibited currently. The confirmation of the African bush elephant has all but denied the forest elephant's chance of inclusion, but it is worth a mention and it's possible DLC material. Bongos are forest antelope in the same genus as kudus and elands. equipped with spiral horns typical of this genus, and adorning striking chestnut red colouring with white stripes that assist in camouflage in their dense forest habitat. The lowland bongo is found in the West African and Congo rainforest regions, with its western population on the decline due to habitat loss and desertification of that area. The Congo population is also declining, but in larger numbers, to consider it near threatened. The mountain bongo, on the other hand, exists only in the Mount Kenya rainforest and is so rare that numbers in captivity exceed those in the wild. This bongo subspecies displays an even more vibrant colouring and is slightly larger and heavier than its western relative. However, an estimated 140 bongos still roam this pocket in Kenya, and therefore extinction of this species is imminent. The mountain bongo has been transferred extensively into captive breeding programs around the world, and with some degree of success, providing the opportunity for future reintroduction. As the largest and most spectacular of all forest antelope species, the bongo is commonly exhibited and well received in zoos worldwide. At least one of these bongo species has a likely chance of inclusion. Tapirs are extremely unique animals, shaped like pigs and sport a distinctive short prehensile nose trunk. There are 5 extant species of tapir worldwide, 4 of which are New World tapirs found in the Americas. The Malayan variety is easily identifiable with its black and white colouring and is found in the Southeast Asian rainforest and the island of Sumatra. Malayan tapirs suffer from habitat destruction, a common problem in this area, and also suffer from illegal trade for tourism. Tapir exoticness contributes to popular demand in zoos, with a sizable Malayan tapir contingent in captivity. The Malayan is the largest of all the tapirs. Its distinct markings also make it the most recognizable, and as the sole Asian tapir variety, it should be an expected addition to the game. The Baird's tapir starts off our New World tapir considerations, which inhabits Central American rainforest and coastal montane forest in Ecuador and Colombia. Primarily a dark brown to black color with some white shades on its lower neck, the Baird's tapir is mostly dull in appearance and very archetypal as far as tapirs are concerned. Large tapirs in this area often have no natural predators, but are occasionally hunted for its meat, which are worsened by the animal's slow reproductive rate. The major threat by far is deforestation, with policies inadequate in the Central American region. The range of the Baird's tapir in South America often interweaves with that of the mountain tapir, which inhabits the same northwestern Andean montane forest but at higher altitudes, hence its name. At slightly smaller than the Baird's tapir, the colouring is almost exactly the same, with the mountain tapir wearing a woolly coat of fur distinguishing it from its lowland cousin. Mountain tapirs fill the major seed dispersal role in this cloud forest, but with habitat destruction it suffers similar ordeals with the Baird's tapir. The South American tapir is the largest of the New World tapirs and the largest land mammal in the Amazon. Inhabiting virtually the entire Amazon rainforest basin, it is also the most common tapir and provides a key source of food for the crocodiles, jaguars and cougars in its range. Again, poaching and habitat destruction are its major threats. However, due to the more abundant number and larger range, it is only considered vulnerable and at significantly less risk of extinction compared to the other New World tapirs. All 3 of the New World tapirs are interchangeable, and it is likely that one of these extra species will be added to support the Malayan tapir on the roster. Perhaps more commonly known as the coatimundi, the South American coati is a tropical raccoon species with an elongated snout and more agile build. Highly adaptable, coatimundis are able to traverse on land and in trees, eating a variety of food sources including fruit, insects, small animals and bird eggs. In captivity, coatis provide entertaining spectacles as they display high activity and show curious tendencies. Furthermore, they breed readily and survive up to twice their wild lifespan. However, coatimundis are rather obscure and would be unlikely to be included. The giant anteater's range encompasses the rainforest of Central America, northwestern Andean and Amazon, but also extends into grasslands and shrublands of the Brazilian Cerrado at their southern extent. The giant anteater roams over a massive home range, complementing its voracious diet of ants and termites, using its massive front claws to dig up earth, while its snout and long tongue allow it to reach into any crevice. The front claws are also a defensive tool, capable of inflicting serious injury to predators such as jaguars. The ratios of termites and ants eaten can be correlated with how dense the foliage is in certain areas. Termite mounds tend to form in more open grasslands, whilst ant nests are usually found in more jungle habitats. But many giant anteaters also alternate diets seasonally. Giant anteaters are generally reclusive animals that rarely present themselves in zoos, but are well received. Their extreme uniqueness would render them a staple animal with an expected chance of addition. Bush dogs, or known in Spanish-speaking countries as vinegar dogs, are small, stocky canids with short legs. Their body plan suggests an adaptation to maneuvering around at pace in the undergrowth rather than in trees, capable of burrowing themselves or taking over burrows made by other animals. The bush dog is poorly studied and extremely rare despite its extensive range, owing to its secretiveness and small size. However, it is known to be the most social of all canid varieties in South America, hunting in packs and targeting the rodents that are found extensively in the Amazon area. However, they are also capable of hunting larger mammals such as capybaras and tapirs. Due to poor public awareness and lack of knowledge on the animal, it represents an unlikely specimen. We move on to the tropical rainforest bears of the world, which consist of 3 species. Rainforest bears are under severe threat due to reductions of suitable habitat, as bears require massive territories to function healthily. The sun bear is the only remaining Southeast Asian species. The sun formation is a crescent patch on their chest area that can be white to orange colouring depending on individuals. Sun bears are the smallest of living bear species, living in isolated pockets in the Bengal-Assam region, the Irrawaddy Delta and Indochina. These populations here are under severe threat. More stable populations occur on the Malay Peninsula and the islands of Sumatra and Borneo. Sun bears are noted for their heightened agility, perhaps thanks to their smaller size, allowing to traverse trees and enter hollow logs to rest. An important food resource is honey, but sun bears will also willingly eat the bees, bee larvae, and the entire beehive, as well as termites, ants, and a variety of fruits. Sun bears are friendly and social in captivity, and their distinctive sun crescent attracts a degree of popularity around the animal, a likely inclusion. Sloth bears inhabit tropical forested areas on the Indian subcontinent and the Bengal-Assam region, with isolated populations in Sri Lanka and the Nepalese lowland. Sloth bears are small bears with long thick muzzles, flappy ears that have long hairs on them, creating the illusion they have a mantle or mane. Lacking upper incisor teeth, with their disproportionately large paws with a developed sickle-shaped claws, sloth bears seem to be evolved for the sole purpose of digging up insect nests and sucking their prey. Often clumsy on the ground, sloth bears are expert climbers, helping them complement their primarily insectivorous diet with fruits and honey, which they are especially fond of. Sloth bear welfare in captivity is a primary concern due to the fact they are often exploited for cruel entertainment, but otherwise they are well protected, with most of their distribution overlapping with protected parks and reserves. Sloth bears are perhaps not as interesting and unique as the former sun bear, and thus only a possibility. Spectacled bears are the last remaining species of the extinct lineage of short-faced bears, living exclusively in the Andean cloud forests of South America. Spectacled bears are known for their reduced, rounded muzzles, hence the short face, but also the fur colouring on their face that resembles spectacles around their eyes. Spectacled bears are omnivorous, but meat contributes to as little as 5% of their overall diet. The rest is a core selection of leaves, fruits, seeds, nuts and bark. This is due to the fact their high altitude environment often does not provide much mammalian prey, but in a sense the spectacled bear's exclusive habitat also avoids conflicts with jaguars, the top predator on the continent. Spectacled bears suffer heavily from poaching, as their gallbladders are prized commodities in the Chinese medicine market. However, conflict with rural farming communities is the primary reason. Spectacled bears are decently received in zoos, but similarly to the sloth bear, they share serious overlap and possible oversaturation, therefore they are only a possibility. The saola is considered one of the rarest mammals in the world, only being photographed in the wild by camera traps laid by the WWF. Saolas inhabit remote pockets in highland tropical forest on the Laotian-Vietnamese border. They have often been dubbed as Asian unicorns due to their rarity and solitary, docile nature. However, this rarity also contributes to hunting. Saola meat is considered a lucrative prize and often sells for much more than other forest antelope meat, with many of its organs also fetching hefty prices in Chinese medicine. Their aversion to human activity and the fact they lived in inaccessible terrain assist in this regard, but also contributes to a poor understanding of the creature, with lack of data hampering conservation efforts. Several attempts to captive Saolas have failed spectacularly due to unknown causes, most likely the animal's immune deficiencies to diseases and its sensitivity to changes in environmental conditions. For now, the Saola is considered critically endangered, but its imminent extinction is unlikely due to its remoteness. Because of the sheer rarity and almost mythical status of the Saola, it may be a possible addition to the game. The southern cassowary is the most typical and largest member of the cassowary genus, with its defined light blue face, darker blue neck, a red wattle on its neck, a head cap and jet black body plumage. With these features, it is arguably one of the most unique flightless birds in terms of aesthetics. Cassowaries live exclusively in tropical rainforests of Australia, New Guinea and some surrounding islands. The southern cassowary inhabits the southern half of New Guinea, the Aru Islands, Seram Island and pockets of the Daintree rainforest in northeastern Australia. Cassowaries are ground foragers and feed on fallen fruits, insects, fungi and occasionally small animals. Although listed as low concern, the Australian population is quite reduced and considered endangered, mainly due to habitat loss from road building and feral animals consuming their eggs. However, southern cassowaries have been successfully breeding in captivity for some time and are exhibited in decent numbers worldwide. It would perhaps face strong competition from some of the more famous ratites such as the emu and ostrich, and thus it's only a possibility. Harpy eagles are the largest raptors of the rainforest, and the heaviest and most powerful of all eagles. They can be distinguished with their unique double crest on their heads, with an enlarged cape of feathers surrounding their face. Due to their size, they rarely expend unnecessary energy flying like other eagles, and can be seen perching on the top canopy layer of rainforest, seeking out their next meal with keen eyesight. However, when they do fly, they sweep down and use their gigantic claws to clamp onto prey, often instantly killing them. Considered as the apex arboreal predator in the Amazon, they target monkeys and sloths as their primary prey. As a bird, they obviously have a very large range, however populations have reduced significantly. For instance, the harpy eagle is considered extinct in Mexico, critically endangered in Central America and the Atlantic rainforest, and is only found in appreciable numbers in the Amazon rainforest. The harpy eagle is the national bird of Panama. Its large size attracts popular reception and is a prized showbird in many zoos. Often the harpy eagle is housed in open-air exhibits due to their ability to be tamed and trained and reliance on easily accessible supplies of meat. It is a possibility for the game. The Philippine eagle is the largest eagle in the world by wingspan and length, although it is slightly less heavier than the harpy eagle. Critically endangered, the eagle is restricted to the Filipino islands of eastern Luzon, Samar, Leyte and Mindanao. They feature an identifiable mane-like crest made up of brown feathers. As the apex predator, the eagle will hunt monkeys, birds, flying foxes, reptiles and occasionally ground rodents depending on the density of the foliage. However, their continuous habitat destruction, denying nesting sites, and their long reproductive cycles, typical of all eagles, has forced their numbers down to possibly as little as 180 individuals. Philippine eagles are protected from poaching recently due to government policy and benefit from a conservative breeding program, but their sensitive wild population could be wiped out imminently. At least 50 instances of Philippine eagles have been showcased in zoos, whilst in the wild they are highly desired bird-watching specimens. Nevertheless, eagles in general are unlikely without confirmation of aviaries, even though this eagle is another that can be exhibited in open-air enclosures. The jaguar is a famous big cat and the apex terrestrial predator of the Americas. Jaguars had historically lived as far as the Grand Canyon, all the way down to Patagonia, but years of hunting for its lucrative and distinct pelt and disintegration of its preferred habitats has reduced its range to primarily South America. Today, it is extremely rare in the United States, whilst Mexican and Central American populations are dispersed and minute. The jaguar has seen a gradual shift to preferring more dense rainforest, where its skin patterns assist in camouflage, whereas it has often ceded competition in open and arid environments to the other big cat in its range, the cougar. Today, the jaguar is known as an almost exclusive woodland and rainforest cat, not dissimilar from the preference of today's modern Asian tigers. Jaguars are by far one of the least threatened of the big cats due to its symbolic and cultural nature, fostering strong community awareness, whilst much money has been invested into the preservation of the species. The iconic big cat of the Americas is surely an expected inclusion, especially since it is also the unofficial symbol of the Amazonian rainforest. The ocelot fills the niche as the South American bobcat, a small-sized wild cat with virtually the same distribution as the jaguar. Like other wild cat species, ocelots are adaptable and agile, able to hunt in a variety of environments, although it prefers rainforest as it utilizes stealth pounces as its modus operandi. Similar to other cats, ocelots are solitary, but they have a tendency to be nocturnal. Ocelots are extensively used as pets due to their ornate skin patterns and easily tameable nature. This translates into a decent zoo animal, although the competition from small wild cats are fierce on the roster. A possibility for a rainforest dwelling cat. The margay is a close relative of the ocelot that is similar in size. More adept at climbing, it is sometimes called the tree ocelot, as a remark towards its arboreal lifestyle, almost never venturing onto the ground. Exceptionally agile, it can hang from trees with only one paw and leap upwards of 12 meters. The margay's prey choices often overlap with the bigger ocelot, but its niche consists of even smaller animals such as birds, lizards and tree frogs. However, it has also been known to consume grasses, fruit and other vegetation, possibly to aid digestion. The margay would no doubt still be outshined by the ocelot and struggle to be justified for the roster. Giant pangolins can be described as scaly anteaters armed with keratin scales. It is quite a peculiar creature, walking whilst curling its front paws to protect its claws. Its traits such as a long snout, developed claws and a good sense of smell are also similar to the anteaters, assisting in the pangolin's almost exclusive ant and termite diet. Giant pangolins are distributed in the West African and Congolese rainforest, however will readily venture out into the savanna depending on food sources. Otherwise, the giant pangolin is not well known due to a solitary and nocturnal nature. Besides habitat degradation, hunting and trapping for its meat, but also the supposed medicinal properties of its scales, has led to concerns on the pangolin population. The giant pangolin is an otherwise ill-determined animal with little rationality to be introduced, but its uniqueness does improve its chances to somewhat of a possibility. Native to the island of Madagascar, the fossa is a close relation to the mongoose family that resembles an agile wild cat, with behavioural traits that suggest a likeness to raccoons or weasels. The fossa is actually the largest mammalian carnivore on the island, and acts as the apex predator, a specialist at hunting the lemur population that makes up 50% of its prey count. Otherwise, fossas are agile, can climb trees, adept at bursts of speed on the ground which allow them to maintain an adaptable and varied diet. They inhabit primarily the coastal forest regions of the island, but also forage in more open woodlands. However, it is noted they avoid the entirety of the central highlands of Madagascar. Fossas are doubly affected by the loss of habitat, as it also affects its major prey source, the lemurs. They are also hunted for its meat, often make easy targets as they readily venture into populated areas to hunt farm animals. Fossas have only recently been introduced to many zoos as a result of successful breeding programs in the 90s, stemming from the Duisburg Zoo in Germany, and its increasing popularity with the public presents it as a likely species. That ends our predictions and wish list for these biomes. Vote in the poll for the next biome selection, and subscribe for the next video, as we await the release of Planet Zoo. Catch you guys later.